The moving van had barely reversed into my driveway when I spotted her charging across the street like a general leading a charge. She was decked out in a pristine golf ensemble at 8:30 on a weekday morning, gripping a notepad as if it were a bayonet. Her stride screamed authority, the kind that promised to ruin someone's day before breakfast was even cold. In less than a minute, this woman would dial emergency services, accusing me of breaking into my own property. And within a few hours, she'd discover I own not just this lakeside retreat, but nearly every house on Elmwood Lane, including hers. My name is Michael Thompson, and I just pulled off the real estate coup of a lifetime. But no one in this manicured suburban enclave had the faintest idea. 6 months prior, I was a worn-out software executive, ground down by 2 decades in the cutthroat world of Silicon Valley startups. My wife, Emily, had died suddenly from a heart condition at age 35, leaving me with a substantial insurance payout and an overwhelming urge to escape the relentless grind that had defined my existence. The lake house was meant to be my fresh start, a serene spot to figure out life's next chapter. What I hadn't anticipated was stepping into a neighborhood war zone masquerading as upscale living. The woman advancing on my driveway exuded the unshakable confidence of someone accustomed to getting her way. Her ash blonde hair was coiffed with military precision, her cosmetics likely more expensive than a monthly mortgage for some folks, and her face wore the stern look of a judge who'd already passed sentence. The movers, 2 burly guys who'd witnessed every flavor of suburban drama, shared a knowing glance and busied themselves inside the truck. "Excuse me," she barked before even crossing onto my lawn. Her voice had that piercing quality that set nerves on edge. "You cannot leave that vehicle here. It violates our association guidelines, and I demand to see your permits right now." Permits to unload my own belongings? I set down the box marked Emily's Journals and turned to face what was clearly the notorious Homeowners Association president my realtor had hinted at. She described the community as having active governance, which I now understood as a euphemism for a self-appointed tyrant. "Good morning," I replied evenly, aiming for civility since I genuinely sought peace. "I'm Michael Thompson. I finalized the purchase yesterday. The truck will be out of here soon." She eyed me as if I'd claimed to be the mayor of the moon. "That's not possible. This property belonged to the Harrington estate, and they wouldn't sell to just anyone like." She trailed off, her gaze lingering on my casual slacks and old Stanford sweatshirt, evidently deeming me unworthy of her exclusive domain. "I'm Karen Whitaker, president of the Elmwood Lane Homeowners Association for the past 12 years, and I can assure you no transaction here proceeds without our approval." The Harrington estate. Amusing, really. Old Walter Harrington had passed 9 months ago without heirs, and the house had gone through legal channels before listing. But Karen either didn't know or refused to believe anything happened without her stamp. "I've got the documents here," I said, pulling up the closing papers on my tablet. "Finalized yesterday afternoon via Lakeshore Escrow. Care to review the title?" She recoiled as if the device were contaminated. "I won't entertain falsified records. All transfers in Elmwood estates require board consent, which you obviously lack. This smells like fraud, and I'm notifying the police immediately." The movers paused their work, one offering me a pitying nod that said, "Buckle up, ma'am." I interjected calmly, "I acquired this legally. I've got the mortgage, the deed, everything." "The issue," she snapped, her volume rising to operatic levels, "is that you're intruding in a secure community where you don't fit. I'm calling 911, and you'd better pray they're lenient." She flourished her smartphone, dialing with exaggerated flair to ensure I witnessed her power play. It was theater designed to intimidate, but she had no inkling of my broader strategy over the past half year. If you've ever crossed paths with someone who wields minor authority like a crown, you can guess the storm brewing. While she dramatized her report to the dispatcher, insinuating I might be armed, and certainly a threat, I noticed the neighbors. 3 had emerged, but their expressions weren't alarmed. They were weary, the fatigue of enduring the same ordeal for years. An elderly gentleman across the way caught my eye and shrugged apologetically, as if to say, "Welcome to the madhouse." A middle-aged woman a few doors down filmed discreetly, likely for a neighborhood forum. And the man polishing his boat next door watched with resigned amusement. "Yes, officer," Karen proclaimed loudly enough for the block to hear. "He won't depart. He insists he owns the Harrington place, which is ludicrous. Suspicious vehicle and accomplices. Could be a theft operation." "Accomplices?" She meant the branded moving firm with its logo emblazoned on the side. In her realm, outsiders were suspects by default. The police arrived in under 15 minutes, swift for a non-issue like a lawful homeowner settling in. Officer Daniel Brooks exited his cruiser with the air of a veteran weary of repeat calls. "Mrs. Whitaker," he sighed, as if this merited overtime. "What's the problem this time?" She pointed accusingly. "This individual is trespassing and fabricating ownership of the Harrington property. No association clearance. He's scamming us. Remove him now." The officer surveyed me, the labeled crates, the truck, then her, his face betraying thoughts of early retirement. "Sir, your identification and ownership proof, please." I provided my license and digital documents. He reviewed them as Karen ranted about forgeries, escalating crime, and community peril. "Mr. Thompson," he concluded, "this checks out. You're the owner. Proceed with your move." Her jaw dropped, speechless for a beat, like a puppet with cut strings. "Impossible," she stammered. "I'd have been informed. The association vets all sales." "Ma'am," the officer replied, exasperation evident. Mr. Thompson owns it. Misusing emergency lines on a valid resident is illegal. Further interference could lead to charges. But Karen wasn't one to concede gracefully, especially publicly. She drew herself up. Very well. As president, consider this formal warning, Mr. Thompson. You may have evaded protocol, but you'll adhere to every regulation. I'll monitor you closely. Violations mean swift penalties. This house sat vacant for months. Doubtless code breaches abound. Expect a thorough review this afternoon. She pivoted and strode to her sprawling Tuscan villa, a structure screaming excess. Officer Brooks watched her retreat, then murmured, "Document it all. She's targeted every newcomer for years. We have a dossier on her. Good luck and welcome." As he left, several neighbors offered subtle gestures of solidarity, nods, thumbs-ups. Defying Karen, even mildly, earned points. The boat owner approached, drying his hands. "Tom Jenkins," he grinned. "That's record speed for her summoning the law. You must have ruffled her feathers bad." "Michael Thompson. I just showed up, what gives?" Tom chuckled wearily. "Existing is offense enough. She's lorded over this lane since her husband struck it rich in pharmaceuticals and snagged the grandest home. And she's serious about inspections. Once fined the Millers $4,000 for lawn edging a quarter-inch off. $4,000 for grass? Is that enforceable? Usually not, but her sister's husband is a local judge, and her nephew heads a big firm. Folks pay to dodge hassle." I glanced at Karen's mansion, then the street. What Tom didn't know, what no one did, was my 6-month spree acquiring properties via anonymous entities and discreet deals. The Harrington house completed the puzzle. "Tom, quick question. How many folks enjoy her regime?" He snorted. "0. She dominates the board through bullying and cronies. We've attempted ousters 4 times. She rigs or intimidates challengers." Fascinating. In hours, Karen Whitaker would learn her fiefdom had a fatal flaw. She'd levied dues and fines on homes outside her purview. Homes now mine, as of yesterday. The movers finished by midday. I'd selected the Harrington for its vintage charm, erected in 1925 by a timber magnate pre-conservation era. Solid foundation despite neglect. Walter Harrington, the enigmatic prior owner, reputedly acquired it in a high-stakes card game in the 70s. I was unpacking in the kitchen when the doorbell chimed insistently, as if time were premium. Peering out, I saw Karen with a stack of files and her bored entourage, 3 women and 1 man, attired for a yacht club brunch rather than neighborly intrusion. Opening up, I was assaulted by a perfume fog potent enough to qualify as chemical warfare. "Mr. Thompson," Karen cooed falsely. "We're conducting the required association evaluation. Meet board members Elaine Foster, Susan Lee, Victoria Hargrove, and our treasurer, George Whitaker." They nodded in sync, though George, her husband, appeared defeated, a man resigned to marital skirmishes. "I wasn't informed of mandatory checks," I said. "Cite the bylaw authorizing entry?" Her lip quivered, but she proffered a printout. Article 52, Clause 4, Subparagraph B. Inspections permissible within a month of ownership shift. Fake rules crumble quick. This referenced outdated statutes. Intriguing. But it's unsigned, unfiled, and cites repealed laws. Got the official version? Elaine, exuding austerity, chimed in. "Karen maintains records. Her word suffices." "That's not legality," I countered. "To expedite. No entry sans warrant. Submit issues in writing." Karen's complexion clashed with her rouge. "Refusal incurs $600 daily fines." "Attempted. I'd relish court scrutiny of bogus rules over a non-jurisdictional property. No authority. I'm president. I oversee all." Here's where I hinted. Review the 1925 covenants. They specify HOA scope. Harrington predates by decades, never joined. Stunned quiet. You could hear her mind reel. George suppressed a smirk. "We've collected dues forever," she protested. "Have you?" "Walter Harrington never paid in 45 years. He sparred with your predecessor on jurisdiction. Want the correspondence? It's riveting." Susan fidgeted. "Karen, perhaps verify." "We won't yield," Karen hissed. "He's gaming loopholes. All homes comply, always." "Not quite," I said. "But research at leisure. Absent order, vacate my premises." Karen teetered on eruption, nails gouging her notepad. "This war's begun, Mr. Thompson. You'll regret settling here. You'll flee in weeks." "Unlikely. Best wishes." I closed the door on their shock, resuming boxes. Their porch debate lingered 10 minutes before dispersal. If you held such leverage over a tormentor, would you unveil it early or let them deepen the pit? Everything hinged on Karen's next blunder, and she was all in. The afternoon quieted, barring Karen's blatant spying, curtains fluttering like signals. She even mounted a camera aimed at my door. Subtlety wasn't her forte. Around 4, Tom Jenkins arrived with beer and a survival dossier, Chronicles of Karen's Reign of Terror. "Figured you'd want the lowdown," he said, lounging on my deck with lake views. "This is documented. Undocumented is tenfold from fear." The file detailed absurdities, penalties for holiday decor lingering a day, noisy children post-dusk. Photos of her ruler measuring lawns, Exodus testimonies, police logs of escalations. And this gem, Tom pulled a shot of Karen gauging mailbox setbacks. Hit the Carters with $900 for 3 inches off curb. How she evaded suits. Wealthy, connected Judge Kin. Skirts criminality in litigious gray zones. My phone pinged. An email from my lawyer confirming all transfers recorded by 5 that day. Every Elmwood Lane holding now under Zenith Holdings LLC, mine entirely. Tom, your dues. 500 monthly. Outrageous for upkeep and beach access. What upkeep occurs? He laughed. Roads crumble, beach neglected. Only her whims get funded. Transparency, please met with excuses. And rentals here? 8 or 9. What? Curious mechanics. Especially how Karen extracted from non-HOA properties like my 9 rentals, for vacant retreats, and 3 probate-tied homes I'd quietly bought out. That evening, as I dined deckside watching sunset, street commotion arose. Karen hosted an urgent gathering in her drive, mic and speakers flouting her own noise codes. Elmwood residents, her voice grated. Given the grave risk from our newcomer, emergency protocols activate. Risk? I was grilling steak and perusing Michigan zoning texts. She targeted me. Trucks need 72-hour notice plus deposit. Alterations via her new committee. Newcomers submit backgrounds and endorsements. The 24 attendees seemed perplexed. One man queried, Karen, this overreaches, likely unlawful retroactively. She snarled. Frank, recall your porch overhang? I've been tolerant. That could shift. Frank quieted, but murmurs grew. Fear lingered, yet so did dissent. Karen's iron fist showed fissures. Next dawn, pettiness peaked. By 7, orange citations littered my yard. Bins visible. $250. Unapproved flora. The prior owner's hydrangeas. Tallying $2,200 including suspicious silence. But her canvassing faltered. Door-to-door petition for my ouster met evasion or rebuff. Old Mrs. Ellis 4 houses away cackled and brandished a cane. Karen retreated. I strolled the lane that afternoon, absorbing the vibe. Elmwood was idyllic sans tyranny. 40 homes lake-facing, private shore overgrown from neglect. Neighbors waved warmly, some apologizing for Karen. She wasn't always monstrous, said Linda Hayes nearby. Early on, she improved things. But after her husband's firm boomed 6 years back, wealth warped her. HOA became her throne. Enough scared or bought allies block change. I noted mentally, surveying holdings. Rentals showed tenant wear, vacations stood silent. Potential abounded, a thriving spot if freed from ego. That night, a deed quirk emerged. Karen's villa titled to Whitaker Family Trust, administered by a Detroit firm I'd used in acquisitions. I phoned my attorney, Robert Klein. Robert, Whitaker Trust beneficiaries? Typing ensued. Fascinating. Set by George Whitaker Sr., Karen's father-in-law. Karen, her husband, and 4 siblings share. Trustee? Zenith Holdings LLC. Error. I grinned. Spot on. Transfer timing. Yesterday, for 50 p.m., pre-closing. Thanks. Details tomorrow. Karen's fortress wasn't hers outright. The trust, debt-laden from poor ventures and elder care, saw siblings eager to sell shares. I'd obliged handsomely. Morning brought more citations blanketing my property, like confetti from a grudge. But spectacle unfolded opposite. Karen's second rally, 30 strong. This intruder threatens us, she railed as I fetched mail, waving genially. Ignored mandates, accrued thousands in penalties. Likely plotting a bachelor den. Amusing, I'd built data centers, not dens. We demand action, $6,000 per home special levy for expulsion litigation. Protect our haven. Gasps, $6,000 stung middle-class pockets. Frank objected, absurd. No mass fee for your feud. He's blameless. Blameless, she shrieked. Defied inspection. Plotting chaos. Time to engage. I crossed, citations in hand. Morning all. Karen, returning these. Littering's punishable in Michigan, up to 3 months. Reported to authorities. Official notices, she fumed. Harassment. Invalid, sans jurisdiction. But proceed. Intrigued by extorting $6,000 per family. Not extortion, safeguard assessment. From what? My reading lamp? You omit collecting from non-HOA homes, smacks of deceit. Crowd stirred. George tensed. Karen, he may be correct. Verify membership's pre-collection. Traitor, she spat. All comply. I feigned checking email. Council confirms. 17 properties exempt historically. 17 paying dues unlawfully yearly, about $85,000. Over 12 years, over $1 million. Where'd it vanish? Dead air. Stares pinned Karen. George paled, dialing. Fabrication, she whispered. Agitator. Public records, I urged. Check build dates. HOA inception, deed clauses. Eye-opening. Devices emerged. Panic hit Karen. Adjourned. I consult attorneys on slander. But groups formed, probing charters, demanding ledgers. Tom approached beaming. Masterful. Her first flop in years. Just prelude. Wait till she grasps who leases her home. What? I smiled. Let's say pushing the wrong guy. Your landlord yields lessons. Returning home, air shifted. Her hold weakened. Questions flowed after years of silence. Karen, decade-long intimidator, faced novelty, accountability. That evening, I pored over deeds solidifying Elmwood's shift. Rentals easy, absentee sellers ecstatic at premiums. Vacations involved air hunts. But Whitaker Trust crowned it. George Sr.'s kin despised Karen, drained by costs. My buyout of majority stakes? Swift acceptance. Dawn brought Karen at my door with a pseudo-official, likely a hireling. Mr. Thompson, cease and desist from Elmwood HOA. Settle fines in 48 hours or litigate. I accepted the worthless paper, smiling. Timely. Here's yours. She tore it open, face crumpling. Zenith Holdings notice. Inspection of 1527 Elmwood tomorrow, 10 a.m. Prepare records. Ridiculous. You can't inspect my residence. What's Zenith? Trust manager owning your home. Query George on last week's tax restructure signing. Her companion fled. Karen froze, documents trembling. Impossible. George manages. He'd never sign blindly. Siblings unloaded shares eagerly. Chat with him. She bolted, phoning mid-stride. Gossip ignited hourly. Tom arrived with Java, grinning. Streets abuzz. Karen's berating counsel. George fled looking shell-shocked. You're doing? Acquired assets, plenty. How many? 9 rentals south, 4 retreats north, 3 probates, the old Jenkins place, no kin to you. And yesterday, Whitaker Trust Control. Tom nearly choked. You own 15 homes. 16 counting hers. Technically, trust oversight. She rents, $9,000 monthly market. Discount for good behavior. No drama, no bullying. Tom roared laughing. She's your tenant. After years tormenting. Not solely. All rentals unified. Legit laws, no whims. Phone rang. Robert. Karen's counsel rants fraud, distress, nonsense. Handle. Yes. Stress tenant harassment evokes eviction, including bullied owners. Audit prelims. Item. Post call, crowd amassed at mine. Linda spoke. Mr. Thompson, true? You control half Elmwood. 15 properties, legally acquired over months. Why? Frank asked. Honestly, post Emily's passing, sought quiet. Research revealed Karen's abuses, illicit fees, forced undervalued sales, self-enrichment. So, amassed enough to rectify. Mrs. Ellis pushed forward. You mean Karen rents from you next month? Affirmative, or buy at $9.2 million valuation. Gasps, then applause, bizarre ovation for revenge via realty. Afternoon, Karen's final gambit. Mandatory, HOA summit at the clubhouse, $600 skip fine. Desperation palpable. Packed house, curiosity trumping fear. Karen at podium, disheveled, hair askew, attire rumpled. Assault on our enclave, voice quavered. This interloper schemes fraudulently to dismantle us. George rose. Karen, enough. Silence. 12 years, first opposition from him. Over. No fraud. Siblings restructured legally. I signed. Debts from your wars buried us. HOA $400,000 deficit from vendettas. Karen blanched. What? I'm done. We rent or relocate. Your tyranny ends. Uproar. Queries, ledger demands, removal calls. I advanced. Hush fell. Here's the plan. Karen resigns today. Full HOA audit. Illicit funds refunded. Vote. Dissolve or reform with checks. You can't, she wailed. Not destroying. Halting your destruction of lives via theft, bogus penalties, ego. Elaine objected. Unlawful. You can't. Actually, Robert entered, all legal. Documents here, plus audit prelims. See expenditures. Hands rose. Projection revealed. $2.5 million collected over 12 years. $250,000 to upkeep. Rest to cronies, suits, $500,000 pocketed. Theft. Cries erupted. Karen bolted. Officer Brooks barred exit. Mrs. Whitaker, accompany me for embezzlement, fraud inquiries. As he led her protesting out, silence yielded to laughter, cathartic justice. Subsequent weeks bustled. HOA dissolved unanimously. Audit spurred charges, embezzlement, fraud, evasion. Karen bailed, contact barred. Professional managers handled rentals, Tom liaising. Vacation heirs repurchased fairly, some did. Whitaker Trust sold to a wholesome Seattle couple. Karen and George downsized to Arizona, HOA free, hopefully. She clerks at her nephew's firm. The judge can disbarred. I retained Harrington and 4 investments, sold remainder to tenants or newcomers prizing bully-free living. 7 months on, Elmwood's Liberation Picnic commemorated Karen's downfall on restored beach, funds recouped. Tom toasted. To Michael Thompson, proving revenge can be owning your foe's abode and billing rent. Cheers rang. I gazed lakeward, sunset gleaming. Emily would have approved. Strong communities rise from mutual defense. Mrs. Ellis approached. You restored us. Planned from start? Truly, sought retirement. But injustice demanded action. I could, so did. Priceless gift. As festivities continued, a sale sign rose on the last unaffiliated home. Owner quipped, completing your empire? No, I chuckled. Retired, recall? Enough thrills. He nodded off. I relaxed, observing neighbors, tenants, friends, savoring liberty. Karen once policed my arrival. She exited in cuffs while I held her deed. Justice sometimes acquires titles and issues notices. The lake shimmered that eve, homes aglow along shores. Diverse abodes, families unique, yet united beyond fear, liberated. From an unlikely grieving tycoon with means and zero bully tolerance. What do you think about themes of abuse of power and injustice in everyday life? Share your thoughts in the comments below, especially on standing up to bullies and seeking fairness. What's your stance? Let me know your views.